Welcome to episode 5 of Chapel by the Sea's Curiosity Conversations. Today I'll be interviewing Ron Henkel. He'll tell us a little bit about his life, and he has an interesting story to tell from his childhood that you don't want to miss. So enjoy getting to know Ron Henkel. Our curiosity conversation today is with Ron Henkel. Ron, how are you doing? Tell us, just kind of give us an overview of who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am doing very, very well because I have my wife Sarah next to me. And as long as I got her with me, we're doing great.
Hanging in there.
Right. Well, let me start at the beginning, I guess. I was born during World War II. As you can tell, I'm a real youngster. I'm still young at heart. And I am a twin. I have a twin brother. Unfortunately, he just passed away in December 25th. He's now in heaven and looking down at us. But I brought him along. So I'm not so lonesome in this world. I needed somebody to play with and somebody to look over me and I look over him. That was my brother, Bernie. My dad was a naval officer, and due to him being in the Navy, we traveled a lot through the entire German country. We lived in many, many places. My birthplace is Erfurt in Thüringen. We lived in Berlin. We lived in Dresden. We lived in Danzig and Sopot. That is near the Polish borders. And we lived right near the border of the, what the heck they call that?
The Baltic.
But the Baltic Sea. Thank you, Sarah. And yes, Mother was the big rock in our family because she took care of my brother and myself, and we traveled a lot, and she was truly the rock. After World War II, we escaped to Braunschweig. This is in West Germany. We were living, Erfurt was the place where the Soviet or the Russian zone was, and we did not want to live under the Russians. So we escaped to the West. Over in Braunschweig, I went through my youth and all the way to the university and studying in engineering. After I graduated over there, we went over to Chicago, and I was hired as a design engineer and worked for the Ford Motor Company. Well, after I figured out I have a beautiful job, guess what came? I have some greetings from Uncle Sam's. Uncle Sam sent me greetings. They wanted me. Well, sure enough, I joined the U.S. Army after that. And then I joined, after I was drafted into the Army, I married my dear wife, my Sarah Jean. Thereafter, our marriage, I was transferred over to the European theater with the 4th Armored Division of the U.S. Army. I was an officer, and I was doing 6 years with the U.S. Army. And at that point, after 6 years there, I left the Army, and I figured enough is enough. I did my duty, and I was happy when able to serve my country. Our marriage, we produced actually 4 children, believe it or not. I was a busy guy. Our oldest son, his name is Joseph. Todd, then comes Michael, and the last one is Ronald Jr. Joseph was our firstborn, and he passed away after he lived very shortly, and he's laid to rest in a military cemetery in Nuremberg. After I left the U.S. Army, I was working as a professional engineer. Now, let me go back to the bad times, which brings back a lot of bad memories for me, and that's World War II. It still seems like yesterday, and I just can't forget these memories. I dream about them, and I cannot forget. World War II began when Hitler's Nazi army attacked Poland. Germany's allies, such as Italy, Hungary, and Bulgaria, and Romania, these countries were part of the so-called Axis power. Countries that fought against Germany, they were called countries that fought against Germany, the Axis power in Europe, were called the Allied powers. The main Allied power were Great Britain, Soviet Union, France, and then later the United States. My family lived in many cities throughout Germany. Erfurt, Berlin, Danzig, Hamburg, Kiel, and there may even be some more which I can't recall, trying to escape from this terrible war. All these cities suffered a great deal of destruction during World War II. The first air raid I experienced was my birthplace, the town of Erfurt in the state of Thuringia. It was in the middle of the night. We had no electricity. Sirens to warn the public went off. Living on the second floor, we had to go down in total darkness into the basement, spending all night in darkness only by candlelight. It was very cold. There were no toilets and etc. The personal needs, somebody needs to live. Older residents died during these raids. I can still feel and see the destruction. We lost the roof and half of the house was destroyed. Wherever we had lived, there was much damage caused by strategic bombing campaigns. There was a lot of opposition to the strategic bombing of Germany and debates for it in Parliament. And it is worth remembering that even during the war, people were speaking out against government policies and carpet bombing in particular, since there were huge civilian areas being targeted. My mother was standing in mile-long food lines, only to find, if you're lucky, a few crumbs of food or nothing at all. I remember going to sleep with an empty stomach many times. So let me say this. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with you. And remember, each day is the dawn of a new beginning. With that, I would like to end World War II. You got a small portion of what the German public went through, the civilians. But now I'm coming to something happier. Let me tell you about my beautiful wife, my Sarah Jean. We are married next month, 57 years.
He's got that right.
And it seems like yesterday, believe it or not. Let me tell you a little history about how we met, if it's okay. Sarah and I met through a mutual friend at the Crossroad Hotel in Franklin Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. I can remember looking into her eyes, seeing her kindness, a heavenly glow in her smiling face, sharing a sense of humor.
Oh, you remember all that. See?
Yeah, I remember that. It was love at first sight. We celebrated on a Friday. That means ending of the work week. I had asked her if we could have a date the next day. And yes, she agreed. Boy, oh boy, was I in trouble the next day due to celebrating. The celebration had caught up with me. You know what I mean. Yes, believe it or not, I actually forgot what she looked like.
Yeah, he did.
Remembering only her beautiful dark hair and smile, her gray sweater, yes, and her brown slacks. Isn't that something? Thank God our mutual friend had agreed to join us. She carefully pointed out Sarah to me, and the evening was saved.
It's so true.
I still remember that day 57 years ago. You had made all the arrangements, Sarah, for our wedding celebration. Since I was absent, and I was stationed at that time at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, with the United States Army. Right on time, we went to the city hall to see the justice of the peace.
Right.
Now comes the funny part. To our surprise, he was absent. He had gone fishing. Yeah, I think it's funny right now.
Yeah.
His calendar was marked for May 12th rather than marked for May 11th to celebrate our marriage. Wow. Was life thrown as a curveball? Well, kind individuals focused their attention towards us. They saved the day by finding us a substitute justice of the peace.
Right. Absolutely.
It was a beautiful ceremony. I can remember looking into Sarah Jean's eyes as we recited our vows. It was a moment
Yes.
I knew that my life was finally complete. Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, honey.
Our first
Me
son,
too.
Joseph was born in Nuremberg, Germany, while I was stationed over in Germany. He had lived only a short while and looks down from heaven upon us. Sarah Jean, you have simply made my life wonderful. I want you to know how happy you have made me, but words alone cannot describe it. You've brightened my life in large ways and small ways.
Oh, my dear.
Sarah, having you wake up to me for the past 57 years, knowing that you're there for me through thick or thin, has made my life worth living. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for marrying me on this day, 57 years ago. You brighten my life every single day. I am eternally grateful for your love and our marriage. I wouldn't change a single thing. Happy 57th anniversary, dear Sarah Jean. I love you, and I will continue to do so until the day I'm no longer on this earth. Thank you very much,
Oh,
darling.
my dear.
And with that
Love
kissy,
you.
kissy, I will now end what I wanted to say to all of you. I hope you enjoyed it. There was some sadness in there,
Yes.
but my motto is, ever since I went to school, is think positive, because negative thinking is dangerous. It can become a self-destructive habit that leads to nothing but self-pity and depression. Therefore, let's all think positive. We will overcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
That's right.
listening. Thank you.
So Rhonda, I usually invite people to have some follow-up questions. So I've got one follow-up question. You're in a singing group. Tell us about your singing group.
Yes. Well, when I retired, as you all know, I was a professional engineer, and I made my life primarily with, believe it or not, with mathematics. And I had to get away from that. And Sarah introduced me to the barber shoppers. And I sing barbershop now professionally with a barbershop group. I have my own quartet. And the introduction was, she took me to a concert and I fell in love with it. I said, that's what I need to do, is get into music. I loved music all my life, but I was a workaholic and I just couldn't find anything better to do than work, work, work. Anyway, after I joined the barbershop, as I said, that is my next hobby, music. So I decided to start singing with the barbershoppers, and I really fell in love, and I'm still active in it. And on top of it, I have a lot of instruments. I always wanted to play instruments. And I got an array of instruments in my house because our kids, they were all music educated. And I had, at that time, a small organ, and I played with them. And yes, I figured, well, that's not enough. I said, let's get some more instruments. I'll learn how to play them. I never had a music lesson in my life. I played the piano, I played the organ and the accordion, the dulcimers, the string dulcimers.
Well, our house is loaded.
I'm just in the process of learning how to play the violin. Anyway, so enough of that. So I'm a music nut.
Yes.
And the best thing whatever happened to me lately is our Ron Neal. He's actually the first one who actually gives me some insight on music. I always knew it was complicated, but I find a real pleasure, especially through his guidance, and I got some insight on music now, and I'm very happy, especially the barbershoppers. That's where I got my start, and I only scratched the surface of music. I love singing solo. I sing with bands. I sing in several different languages. Let's see, that would be English, German, French, Spanish, Russian, and some Latin too, yeah, believe it or not. So I enjoy music, and I made it my hobby, and I couldn't be any happier. Music is now part of my life, and matter of fact, I got Sarah interested in it right now, and she's also singing. So we are kind of music oriented, and we would like to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's so much for our music introduction.
Yeah.
And
Well, does anybody else
still
have a
learning.
question for Ron?
Every day is a learning experience for me.
Make sure you unmute yourself if you have a question for Ron.
Ron, this is Allison. I'm just curious, after World War II, when you came to the United States, were you ever, since we just fought a war with Germany, were you treated well by people in the United States in general, or was there still some resentment or that spilled over onto you as an individual?
No, I don't find any resentment at all. Matter of fact, Ford Motor Company, they found me. I didn't find them.
Okay, great.
They hired me, and it says, "Go to work, son." No, I found no animosity whatsoever, and I couldn't be any happier. You know, what can I say? I'm here over 60 years in this country. You know, so.
Sure.
Time flies when you have fun, and I never found anything negative in this country. My brother, my twin brother, and myself, we were both officers in the United States Army. We were very happy to live in this country and to serve the country.
Thank you.
Well, Ron, this is Fred, and I just wanted to say that it's been a pleasure knowing you for about 40 years. And it's been great having been neighbors. Our backyards joined for 18 and a half years. We were backyard neighbors, and it's been in every bit of it, including your children, have been our pleasure to know.
Yes, thank you for being a good neighbor, and I still miss you guys, you know.
Right. We both
Oh, we miss being there.
Yes, the house is in good shape. We got some new neighbors there, and they're taking good care of your home.
Wonderful.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
Any other questions for Ron? Anybody want to throw one at Sarah since she's there?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, tell us some secrets, Sarah.
Well, Ron loves gardening. You know, we're sequestered now, so we're trying to make do and have our little garden. Of course, you know, I'm into seashell crafting.
Yes.
So I just finished a nice wreath for the door, and I made a couple of angels and butterflies. I mean, you know, running out of things to do. Been doing my walking every day, so thank heavens for that. But Ron has been so good. He's trying to learn how to cook now, you know, because
What a disaster.
yeah, we have to do a lot of cooking at home now too. But I want to get some takeout from Frenchie's because we want to support our local restaurants also. Yeah. So they're still doing that at Frenchie's and all the restaurants here. Yeah. And I did break the law like Ron did that time. You know, I'm walking on the beach and there are quite a few people there, believe it or not. And I know they're residents though from this area. And you know, you never know your neighbors until you really have to go out and walk the dog, do the bicycling and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, it's in a way, there's a lot of good points to the sequestering and the problems that we have, because I mean, we have to look at the positive, like Ron says, and think of the good things while we can and enjoy the fresh air as much as we can, get out and do our exercises. I'm sure Carla knows about that too, to get our exercises and follow the guidelines and so forth. But yeah, we've you know, we kind of enjoyed being home and enjoying our home. We've cleaned out the closets, you know. So I guess everybody has now.
Well, we have different hobbies. You know, I wrote a few hobbies down over here. Some of them all I can do indoor, and I write poetry, and I write it in the German language because my fraternity is 161 years old, and I'm in contact with that fraternity. Worldwide, we have about over 10,000 members yet. And I play a big part in that fraternity. Anyway, my hobby is writing poetry in Germany in German, and I got quite a few bits there. And like I said, I sing barbershop, and I also love painting and sketching.
The sketching is important.
Yeah, I have a lot of sketches. I must have about maybe 2,000 sketches or something like that. And I love gardening. And you already know about the instruments I play, so that's good. And we like to travel. Mm-hmm. As long as we are healthy, we are going to go travel. We traveled by car all 49 states. We've been in every state in the United States by car. When we go traveling by car, we take the back roads. And we travel probably maybe a couple of months driving. And then we slowly come back home, because what difference does it make you? You have to live here and you got to live over there. You're on the road in a hotel. If you don't like it, you move on to the next place. But we had the opportunity to see all 49 states. And this year we were planning on going to Hawaii. Unfortunately, we have to put that on hold. But one of these days, we're going to make Hawaii, because there's a lot to see, especially the memorial of the Japanese attack. So yes,
I'm in Hawaii right now, Ron. See?
Yes, you are in Hawaii. Exactly. But we will make that. It's not a problem, you know. So we're very, very happy to look forward when everything is healed again. You know, it's. What holds us together is, Rhonda, is the church, and especially you. I got to give you so much credit for getting us all together. You are really a marvel. You are a rock in our society right here, and I can only thank God and our 48 years of membership in the Chapel by the Sea that we have you, Rhonda.
Yes.
God bless you. Thank you very much, Rhonda.
Thank you, Ron. And thank you for sharing some of your heart and your story, the joy. I mean, part of what I was thinking about as you're sharing your story is there's so much joy and there's also so much sadness. And isn't that just part of life? Sadness and joy and everything in between. Thank you for sharing a little bit of both with us today. Let's give it up for Ron Henkel.
And Sarah.
And Sarah.